Hi, welcome to the Hustle Generation. I'm your host, Kaylee, and today we're joined by Patrick Poling, the founder of Southern Oak Wealth Group. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is nice.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited. So, you are the founder of Southern Wealth Group.
Yes, one of the three. I'm the oldest, but I've got two other partners as well.
Okay, perfect.
It's weird to say I'm the oldest, but that happens a lot more these days.
Yes. And so I'm going to put you back in your high school shoes.
Okay.
You're a senior in high school, you're about to graduate college or high school. What were your plans while you were in high school? What did you think you were going to do?
As I was leaving high school, I thought I was going to be a plastic surgeon. That was the first thing I was going to do. So I went to UT, and I took all the kind of weed out courses, the organic chemistries and all those things, and I was going to do biomedical engineering at the same time as pre-med. And I think that summer I went to go observe a plastic surgeon, observe a facelift. And I grew up on a farm, so I was used to blood, but I found out I was used to animal blood. And I pretty much passed out when he started the facelift, and I was like, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. So I changed that the next year, went to pre-vet. Tried that for about a year. Also I also interned for a vet. This guy actually kind of talked me out of doing it. So went to engineering. So I was an industrial engineer. I stayed through grad school. I got my MBA at the same time. So my plan leaving college, leaving grad school, was to be an engineer, which I was for 2 years. Mm-hmm. I was an efficiency engineer, which my job was, part of it was figuring out what jobs we could cut, mm-hmm. Which wasn't necessarily fun because the people out in the plant knew what your job was. They didn't like when they saw you coming.
Yeah.
So didn't love it. It's a great job for some people. It wasn't a great job for me. But I am a numbers person, and so I was looking for something all along, kind of what I could kind of gravitate to. Mm-hmm. And I had a good friend who, funny enough, is coming in town on Friday, who talked me into getting into this industry, into the wealth management industry, because it kind of fits what I like. I like dealing with people, but I also enjoy the numbers quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And then that was 2006, and here we are 19 years later.
There you go. And so you took a journey through so many different careers.
Or almost. Yes.
Almost. You almost did. You tried out and decided you didn't like them. And what was kind of like the turning points for you that said, like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life? Like,
I would say a lot of it is a gut feeling. Mm-hmm. I think trying different things is good. You can get an idea, is this something that I'm going to be okay getting up every morning and going and either doing as a job or career or starting it as a business. Mm-hmm. If you hate it, I would tell anyone, if they hate their job, that's not where they need to be. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a difference between a job and a career or starting your own business. Sometimes you can swallow a job you hate for a little while if it's the means to an end of doing something else. I did a lot of different jobs in college just to help pay for things. None of it was anything that I was going to do for the rest of my life. But I think the exposure to different things helps you get a good idea of what you want to end up doing.
Yeah. I think here at the EIC, they teach us that really you come in here and you start a business, right? And you learn that business is an option. You mm-hmm. learn that small business ownership is an option. But they also teach you that the building blocks that you learn through business and entrepreneurship will take you so many different places. To choose a different career, it's like every career has a little bit of the same skills.
Yes.
So here they teach us a lot of the same skills, like all of your soft skills, how to talk to people,
yes, which is
how to treat customers, how to manage yourself, time management, all of these things that you learn. So what are some things that you learned early on that have stuck with you from then?
I would say a big one is, and you named off quite a few good ones. You mentioned talking to people, and there's a few different ways you could look at that. There's one is talking to clients or customers and getting used to that, just, getting uncomfortable dealing with different types of personalities. I would say one of the things I would say is treating everybody the same, treating everybody with respect, from the person that's going to be, cleaning your office to the CEO of a company. I think it says something about somebody to not act different around certain people, because people pick up on that, and they, then they'll form opinions based on, I see what they're doing now.
Right.
But going back to like you were saying, getting used to talking to people, I'd say one of the biggest things in any type of business, especially one that you're doing yourself, starting yourself, is all the different personalities, customers, clients. You've got to be uncomfortable speaking to people that maybe are not going to fit exactly what you are or things that you believe in, but making yourself uncomfortable and going out and talking. I used to be petrified of talking to people, and I had to get used to it over the years. I got used to it before I started this business, but a few things. My grandfather used to make me, when I was a kid and super shy, he used to make me walk around his pond and collect money from people that were fishing, even though I was scared to go up and talk to them. I enjoyed going and making the money more than I was scared. So that's just an example. But getting used to speaking to all different types of people, I think, is great, and you have that as a core skill. But the people that you keep closest to, the people that you would start a business with, or people that you refer business with, or have dinners or drinks with on a consistent basis, the ones you trust, I do think those should be people whose personalities do match yours a little bit more, because you're not going to be uncomfortable around them. You want those close relationships in business to people that you are very comfortable with.
Right. And at the EIC, when you come in your first year, they randomly select you. Well, not randomly. They go in really detailed. They look at your personalities. We take several personality tests. We do activities during the day.
Which ones did y'all do? Which tests did y'all do? I've done like 2 or 3 of those.
I can't remember what it's called.
It's the Enneagram. Did you do that one?
I think, yes, that is one of the ones we did.
It's like 9 different, is it 8 or 9?
Yeah, it's like 9 different groups, and it puts you in a group. But we took personality tests. We did activities to see how we worked with each other. And then they stick us in a group of maybe 3 to 4, sometimes 2 to 4 people. And then we're told to just create a business.
Yes.
Out of nowhere. And so they take us and they put us in groups with people who have some of the same qualities as others, but then have some differences. So like my group last year, I'm very goal-oriented. Like I put the to-do list out every single day.
Yes.
I made everybody else a to-do list for what they were going to do.
Yes.
I was very project management. I also was the one that was more design. Like I designed all of our slideshows. I put all the slideshows together. We had one girl that was very I just want to create. I just want to do the task. So she created our whole product. It was all her idea. And then we had one girl that was very financial. So she did all of our finances, all of that. But then we were also all very silly. Like we were all just very fun. Like we just want to have a good time. So our group was always we got the most work done and we had the most fun.
Yes.
And so it's just finding those people that are just, you have this kind of some of the same qualities, but finding the little things they don't.
Yeah, you brought up a great point, because there's a difference between having a similar personality and having the same skill set. Sound like you guys had different skill sets but similar personalities, which is our office. We laugh and cut up quite a bit, play jokes on each other. That's not our whole day,
right.
But it would be miserable to go to work in a place where everybody was serious all the time. You couldn't smile. That would feel much more like a job as opposed to something that you enjoy doing.
Right. So let's go back to the Southern Oak Wealth Group.
Yes.
What does being the founder mean? So how did you get that role?
So we were actually, when I started in the industry, I was actually at a big bank firm back in 2006. So we left and started our own company 6 years ago. Had never started a company this way before. And worked in different areas in my family businesses. You know, I grew up on a farm, so I'm used to, you know, kind of running your own thing, or at least what that looked like, you know, observing it from my dad and my uncles, but never did it myself. And when you have a career like we all did, and there were 7 of us at the time that left, but 2 of them were partners along with myself. You know, we had established ourselves at this place, and it was a little scary leaving, but the draw of doing things the way that we saw was best for clients was too much to pass up. So part of it is you've got to really trust and get along with the people that you're doing it with. We brought a couple of our admin assistants, we brought a couple of younger brokers that came, younger advisors. But the 3 of us just said, we're going to make this work no matter what that takes, which, you know, different stages of life, starting a business, you know, you'll look at it different ways. I would tell people, you know, younger to try a lot of different things and to try it early when you've got, where I was, you know, a little bit older. I guess I was 40 or 41 at the time. But I had 2 young kids, so something not working was kind of not an option. So we did work very hard to make it work. But we were already in a business that we knew that we enjoyed, and we could see what that would look like down the road. I'm not sure if that answered your question. I might have gone off on a tangent.
But yeah, so you got the role to be the founder.
And that's really the 3 partners. You know, so 3 of us were partners. We're the ones whose name is on the ownership of the LLC. That is really, it means it's ours. You know, of course, we want, you know, buy-in from everybody else that works at the firm, but the ownership and the responsibility and kind of, you know, the buck stops here is with the 3 of us, myself and 2 other partners. Yeah.
And what is your role as founder? What do you do in everyday life?
So my role, founder, I would say, is kind of who I am as far as founding the company, but the day-to-day, I'm the senior portfolio manager. What that means is a lot of my time is spent actually building out the stock models that we use for clients. A lot of that is research, you know, is figuring out what we want to include for all different types of people, and speaking to people all day. So it can range from a very young person who has a lot of years to be aggressive and let their money grow. That type of portfolio is going to look very different from somebody who just retired and only needs to now pull from their savings as opposed to create that nest egg. So most of the day is spent research on the phone, looking through accounts, making sure everything's done correctly. So we wear a few different hats. You know, myself, to a different extent, my other 2 partners do some of the same things, but we've all kind of naturally fallen into, you know, I like this area better. I've got another partner who really enjoys, I'll say that, really enjoys the lending aspect. So, you know, he'll help advise clients on, you know, what sort of debt they need to hold, how that falls into, you know, their business. We end up dealing with a lot of small business owners because we own our own business now, so naturally we know what they have had to deal with. So some people will say, oh, we deal with, you know, athletes and musicians or CEOs. Most of our people, yes, we have a few of those, but most of our people are business owners. So we've seen a lot of different issues that businesses can come up with for the stuff that you guys are doing as far as starting your own business and running your own business. That experience has been great. Yeah.
And I kind of want to go more in depth of how your, where's my question at? How your investments work, what kind of investments are you working on? What kind of investments is your firm working on?
Yes. So to back up a little bit, so we will do essentially everything for families and small businesses. When I say everything, yes, we will do everything investment-wise, but we will also advise them on, you know, how their investments can affect their tax strategy, you know, look for holes in any estate planning that they've done. Now, we're not attorneys, but we know a lot of attorneys in town, great attorneys in town, who we will send clients to if we see a need or a hole that they have not taken care of by addressing, maybe passing money to the next generation or a charity that they want to be involved with. We spread it out pretty far, so pretty much anything money related we want to talk to our clients about. But what most people know us for is going to be those investments. Most people are going to have a decent basket of stocks. We'll incorporate fixed income, which is usually going to be like bonds or CDs, depending on how much their risk tolerance. Those are normally going to be not as return as much as a basket of stocks would, but it's good to have it. Cash management is another piece. If someone is going to purchase a house in 6 months, we want to let that cash earn as much as it can before they need to use it, but at the same time, we don't want to put it at risk. So there's a need to have a section of it carved out to be cash, but you want to make some sort of return on that too. The last section would be kind of everything else, and that falls into alternatives. That's going to be most things real estate related, private companies that you won't see on TV. There are some companies, people think you can go buy stock in Chick-fil-A, for example, but that is a private company as opposed to McDonald's. So there's those 4 areas. So it's stocks, fixed income, cash, and alternatives.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to young teenagers that really want to get into investments?
I would say starting with any amount as early as you can is good. If you're actually earning money, you can put some of that, as much as you're comfortable with, into a Roth IRA. Different types of IRAs, but I would think for a younger person who's not sitting in a high tax bracket, a Roth IRA is probably going to be the best. It will grow and grow. You're not taxed on it each year, and then when you take it out way down the road, you'll never see a tax on it again. It's nice to have that bucket. Right now, you can put up to $7,000 a year into a Roth. Now, some teenagers are not ready for that amount, but if they're making enough money and they can do that, $7,000 a year growing per normal market returns. At age 18, I think by the time you hit about my age, that account would already have $1 million in it.
Right.
So just adding that amount. But starting with anything is good.
Yeah.
Putting what you can per paycheck, setting it aside, and putting it into what I would say a longer term account. Most people around your age are not looking at retirement saying, oh, I need to do this for retirement. But the earlier you start on it, the easier it is down the road.
I agree.
And then, then as far as what to pick from there, there are, for smaller amounts that people are starting with, a lot of times we just tell them to use some sort of an ETF. An ETF is usually a basket of securities, like a basket of stocks or a basket of bonds. Most of the time for people your age, I would say use a stock ETF. It gives you a diversification, gives you a little bit of taste of everything. Like you can buy an ETF that's based off of the S&P 500, for example, or the Dow Jones, a lot of domestic stocks. Now, if you're very interested in something like Apple or Starbucks, then you can go and sprinkle those around throughout your account. And by buying those individual stocks along with the ETFs, then you can get a little bit more experience in watching how those move around compared to the market.
Right. And what do you think is a lesson about, because investments 100 years ago was completely different from now. I mean, it's an ever-changing thing. It's probably never going to stay constant for a long time, except for the money part of it.
Right.
It's dealing with money. So what is like a lesson you think goes with investment? Like
it will always change. And you brought up a good point. I mean, back if you look in the 80s, nobody was ready for the internet boom. And 10, 15 years ago, nobody was ready for this AI boom that we're now seeing. And it's going to go through its growing pains just like anything else. But, it's going to be here for the long run, just like the internet is. It's going to be a part of our daily lives. Cryptocurrency, that would be another one that did not exist, when I was your age, and probably didn't even exist till just a few years ago. But those are these new technologies. They're ever changing. Something is always going to be coming down that will disrupt everything else. When Ford started making car parts, all kind of be the same and interchangeable. That changed how manufacturing went. So there's always going to be something like that that is going to disrupt not just one industry, but the whole market. You know, you'll have change of leadership where right now I think technology is going to lead again for a while because of AI, but companies that are not even, you would say, technology-based, but use technologies like a utility company or a manufacturing company now using that technology is going to help them as well.
Yeah, I agree. Technology is never going to go away. As much as some people want it to, it's never going to go away. So you might as well figure out how to use it now. So how was going into a business blind? I don't know if you were blind, but going into something that you knew parts about it, but you've never done it yourself.
Yes.
That first time, what was it like?
It was scary, especially because I waited a little bit longer. Like I said, some advice I would give younger people is just to get out there and try some different things. Starting it for the first time, when I was about 40, was a little more stressful. We had many, many long nights, lack of sleep. I think I even slept at the office 2 or 3 nights right when we were leaving because we were trying to set everything up, at the same time bring all of our clients with us.
Right.
And, the clock was ticking. The longer you take to do things like that, the less chance you can be successful. So a lot of hard work at the beginning. We did have, we had some people that we could lean on from an advice standpoint. We had a group that had kind of held our hand, that had helped a few other firms go off on their own and start their own business. They're out of Indiana that we were thankful to have their partnership.
Yeah.
So, a lot of hard work in the beginning. I'd say pretty stressful for the first month or two, then the stress kind of goes away and you're still working really hard for the first, let's say, 4 to 6 months. And then not that you're not working hard after that. I'm sure that now I'm working more than I ever did at my, normal 40-hour per week job. It just feels different. If I'm checking on something at home while I'm watching a movie with the kids, it does not feel as much like work as, just sitting in the office and being told what to do. Right.
I do agree. It's a different type of work when you're your own boss.
Yes,
for much. Sure. So for kids graduating high school, graduating college, what advice would you give them to maybe go into where you're at or do something similar? What advice would you give them?
As far as this business specifically? And it's tough. There's one thing I think I forgot to mention earlier. When I started off in this business, and yes, I'd already been at grad school and I'd already been an engineer just for a couple of years, but a very weird thing to do is you're sitting, I was in my 20s, you're sitting with people who, could be 40 or 50 years older than you, and you're trying to give them advice on something that you just started doing, which is difficult and it's intimidating. And not that you think that they think you're full of it, but at the same time, they can see how young you are. So that is a little bit of a hurdle. That's something that is just one of the drawbacks for being young that experience will eventually take care of. But learning as much as you can about what you're interested in and what you want to do as a business will eventually help overcome that youth. And I remember sitting in front of people and just most of the nerves were from they're going to just think I'm full of it because here's this kid coming in trying to tell them how to get ready for retirement when I've only been out of school just for a couple of years. A lot of times when you're coming out and you're young, you can work with teams, whether that be a team at a big bank firm or we take interns every summer working with smaller firms like ours. You get a good taste of what everything is. Really just doing, not being afraid to fail. I'm sure, you guys hear that a lot as far as when people give you advice as far as starting a business, but it's true. The advice that I could give myself or anybody at that age, you just don't know what you don't know until you see it. Right. And a lot of that is not being afraid to fail, just going after something, trying something, and just knowing that this may not work, but the experience will always be there.
Right. Yeah, that's something they teach us every single day here.
Yep.
every single day.
I'm sure.
So you always fail forward.
Yes.
And keep on going.
Everything is a learning experience.
Yes, everything. All right, do you have any final piece of advice, anything?
Final piece of advice, I think this is great what you're doing. I don't know if anybody knows how we met, but I think you're very impressive for the different things that you're putting your hands into. So you specifically, I would say just keep doing what you're doing. It looks like you are truly hustling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next week on the next episode.
All right, thank you.